imagine all the multiplications you can do. So, yeah, to multiply, it needs a detonation, an implosion, explosion. So, welcome to the word of the week. That's multiplication, multiplying bodies. Um, um, Health. Can you imagine Lex Friedman is going around the globe? That's so cool. Just imagine that we might have the anchor with this scenario where all this is multiplying from. It's good that it runs through the influencers for sure. It is good to ask questions and to have the energy field among the influencers from around the world as well. Get to work together and how are we going to do this? Just have fun. Well, I am here reporting from the underworld. Continuing with alienation as well. For those who are alienated from society, the poor, the vulnerable, those in need where abundance is not reaching, in all its levels. Also, the joy of it, the material world we harness, the many lands within this land. So, relations of production. Um, Before that is from a worker's Gattungswesen, species being. Right. Philosophical significance and influences from other workers. I am just passing to hopefully get to ground from our works. So we need you have a belly, a place to multiply from that explosion. Inner implosion, because it implodes on an oval. There's an information there that it's a chain event gets to flower at the same time. The work failed in the system of trusting to return the trust from a worker's Gattungswesen, species being. The Gattungswesen, Wesen, species being or human nature of individuals is not discrete, separate and apart from their activity as a worker, and as such species essence also comprises all of innate human potential as a person. Conceptually, in the term species essence, the world speckles describes the intrinsic human mental essence that is characterized by a plurality of interests and psychological dynamism. whereby every individual has the desire and the tendency to engage in the many activities that promote mutual human survival and psychological well being by means of emotional connections with other people, with society. The psychic value of a human consists in being able to conceive, think of the ends of their actions as purposeful ideas, which are distinct from the actions required to realize a given idea. Thank you for accepting my ideas and trusting in me uh, to also go through the bad times, tense times. I am remaining still. That is, humans are able to objectify their intentions by means of an idea of themselves as the subject and an idea of the thing that they produce, the object. Conversely, unlike a human being, an animal does not objectify itself as the subject nor its product as it is, the object, because an animal engages in directly self sustaining actions that have neither a future intention nor a conscious intention, whereas a person's Gutenswesen does not exist independently of specific historically conditioned activities. The essential nature of human beings is actualized when an individual, within their given historical circumstance, is free to subordinate their will to the internal demands they have imposed upon themselves by their imagination, and not the external demands imposed upon individuals by the other people. Well, this is a problem because you are engaging with the outer world as well. And the problem of not respecting those who have more brings friction. This is well shown throughout our life experience. More or less, we are here and to honor those who have given us, as we are all gonna pass some time, hopefully healthy and with longevity. To execute what is precise for the next generation. That's supposed to be fun and gracious. Um, to have a schizophrenic relationship with authority and the outside world is not really what I would lean towards. Not at all, because there's always somebody that's going to have more of something, especially now that we can see the world at the same time with the tech globe map as well, more as we activate it, right? So, in this theme that comes next, relations of production. Well, we need to change or modify the international trade laws, because when you see the tech globe map, what the industry can invest in that land, so their people also have jobs. The Chinese can teach others to administrate, to work wisely with practice. That's what Europe has done in their colonies as well. And one learns through a practice as well to give a chance. Well, everything is going to be made in China, but with a universal coin, you will be able to harness that back. But see it in the map, all the places you can invest with your industry. So they can satisfy their own land as well. And if they want, travel to the stars up above to outer worlds. There will be always an horizon to mark, um, to find out as a cast if you can find something to honor those above that have the power to deliver to others. That is good to note that we are not here alone, just alone as the singularity, independence. That would be boring and exploring as a ghost. It's good sometimes to get lost and be able to dive, build a wall without restrictions. There's also another part of the soul, the wishes to be in forces and travel together to multiply the power range. So, as much power you have, you will love to relax the power and at the same transcend it through letting it clash. So, it might destroy to multiply. You must accept that there is have been a release of power throughout this clash and fulmination. So, this for there is a multiplication coming to form a new life in this cycle of infinity. So, well, relations of production. This is the sort of production that we are elaborating from minimal to national to continental. Yes. So I don't really want people to start fighting the left, the right, or because you have brick or you have crypto money. You will see at the end that it's not worth to invest in fights to bring other people on your side. People will go where they have the affinity and inspiration. But to create hatred against others when you can just invest right now, start multiplying. But would you pay people like me who has invested just to dive into the worlds of imagination for 20 years? No one has, right? With other friends. So it takes a lot to invest on what you do not know, but it does have an extension towards what we already are. When it's been approved, it's conventional to people and accepted. Relations of production. Whatever the character of a person's consciousness, will, and imagination, societal existence is conditioned by the relationships with the people and things that facilitate survival, which is fundamentally dependent upon cooperation with others. Thus, a person's consciousness is determined intersubjectively, collectively, not subjectively, individually, because humans are a social animal. In the course of history, to ensure individual survival, societies have organized themselves into groups who have different basic relationships to the means of production. One societal group, class, own and control the means of production, while another societal class work the means of production and in the relations of production of that status quo. The goal of the owner class was to economically benefit as much as possible from the labor of the working class. In the course of economic development, when a new type of economy displays an old type of economy, agrarian feudalism, superseded by mercantilism, in turn superseded by the Industrial Revolution, the rearranged economic order of the social classes favored the social class, control the technologies, the means of the production that made possible the change in the relations of production. Likewise, there occurred a corresponding rearrangement of the human nature, Gattung, Gattungswesen, and the system of values of the other class and of the working class, which allow each group of the people to accept and to function in the rearranged status quo of production relations. That's how the system was. As you start to see people moving around their job with a working meditation, with joy, without feeling they are low class or labor class or low wage or disassociated from the richness and wealth. I am saying because countries that have 80% of people poor, 85% of people are poor, you will see that they're all happy because the majority is poor, and so they don't have much comparisons because they are all sharing the same field. And I'm talking towards countries like in my country, Venezuela, poverty is below the margins of society. Despite the ideological promise of industrialization, that the merchanization of industrial production will raise the mass of the workers from the brutish life of subsistence existence to honorable work. The division of labor inherent to the capitalist mode of production thwart- thwarted the human nature. Gattungswesen of the worker and so rendered each individual into a mechanistic part of an industrialized system of production. From being a person capable of defining their value through direct, purposeful activity, which I call a sense of property, owning your percentage. So imagine that managers or people that work in the office work 3 times in the workforce. Yeah, as an exercise from within. You will see a much better understanding among the work itself. Because when I feel I am worthless, because where I work, there's no understanding. And this is the average people, all right? That's not the people I live my life with or being educated. But still, these are the middle class who think to be superior and they have a distortion field because their parents were that. So they think they are better than their parents. They have no honor towards them. To a degree, this happens on every nation. You cannot be prompting information all the time. There is a lot of activity to work as well to get the feeling of the human to human connection. And we get to admire that when we associate and think this is better. This person is better. I like to be like that. I like to be happy at work. It's like, what is all this gossip about? Is it about the work, really? Just talk about it, joke about it, understand what is priority and measure while activating our own intelligence. That's a field that our work and our body deserves as well. We can work so much better now that we can see. When we go to sleep and close our eyes, we can see we've done good work. It was worthy. You are bonded to do it. It's difficult to understand that letting go for that which needs to die because death is change allows a new form of multiplication that takes something out of that was there. Moreover, the near total mechanization and automation of the industrial production system will allow the newly dominant bourgeois capitalist social class. They really hated the los burgueses. And when you treat another human or human class with hatefulness, you will understand there is something immature there. The social class to exploit the working class to the degree that the value obtained from the labor will diminish the ability of the worker to materially survive. On those times, they have 50% taxes from the people, if not just slavery, food and shelter. As a not a human, so much work people have done in the past to honor all our ancestors, really. So here it goes. As a result of this exploitation, when the proletarian working class become a sufficiently developed political force, they will effect a revolution and reorient the relations of production. This is a great fear of the highest class that they will redirect the relations of production towards their own selves, away from them. If chaos is restored into ultimate harmony, unless there is a greater business to ship with and on the techglobemap. Well, that is what would govern the body, every value, and without it, they cannot exist. To the means of production from a capitalist mode of production to a communist mode of production. In the resultant communist society, the fundamental relation of the workers to the means of production will be equal and non conflictual because there will be no artificial distinctions about the value of a worker's labor, the worker's humanity, Gattungswesen, thus respected men and women will not become ali- alienated. Problem with communism is that it will never work by force, and I have seen so much corruption because it's a whole human experience, to be honest, and it takes many generations, right? From monkey see, monkey do. So if you got a place from killing other people, you have a lot of blood to clean from your hands. And when you're taking that system of belief as your role, you are also carrying the trauma that is being built by killing those you got that power. So you belong to the system of belief on hating. And this creates every murdering is related with schizophrenia. You can see it on the family tree and of a society as well. It's been very recently that people would just kill to become a king as well. So, as it is to believe that you will be the owner of the world. So, United States has the belief to suppress others, so they are the number one. But they have come to understand that it's a rounded world. Um, there's no way out to convince the world that you are superior. I don't want to listen to Donald Trump talking like that about Venezuela ever again. Because people were nice, not wishing to kill their own people or us themselves. It doesn't mean he's superior, all right? He's still a pedophile and a bully and an abuser and an egocentric motherfucker who doesn't deserve anyone's attention at all. If he's there to do a job, what happens to be him? Yeah. And all the tech titans as well, thinking in the same way. To believe to own the world. They were gonna have to give a lot towards the belongings or the information of their nations and help other countries as well change their narrative if they want to acknowledge more administration. They're gonna have to let go so it multiplies. And this is in their own investment as well by respecting all those and their percentage, the leaders of their nations, and what people do when they know there is better life, better ways of being. And that's your own action to do by not hating others, killing another, so you're better. Is this understood? Let it blow around the world. So I am ready to multiply. Hey, yes. And expand in this new form of living that we have been cultivated for so long. So, well, I will continue on and on talking in these ways. So, well, in the class less collectively managed communist society, the exchange of value between the objectified productive labor of one worker and the consumption benefit derived from that production will not be determined by or directed to the narrow interest of a bourgeois capitalist class. Without the investment of the highest class, you wouldn't have the evolution of all the generations. What my response to that? It needs time for people to create schools, to embrace their village, their society. It needs time to see the emergence can flourish through all of us. And that is beautiful to watch in others. Be thankful that been administrated throughout centuries and millenniums to get to this stage of multiplying it through the last bit, corner and spot. Under the collective ownership of the means of production, the relation of each worker to the mode of production will be identical and will assume the character that corresponds to the universal interest of the communist society. The direct distribution of the fruits of the labor of each worker to fulfill the interests of the working class, and thus to an individual's own interest and benefit, will constitute an unaligned, unalienated state of labor conditions which restores to the worker the fullest exercise and determination of their human nature. And here ends this title, which I will add that we need to learn values before achieving the respect of measure. It takes a lot of time to administrate and learn because people start to have a collective disassociation, a collective mental hallucination that they can expend everything and they become so corrupted because they're not used to harness in work in a long term throughout many generations as well, and if possible, activate it so it's faster for everyone without having to slow it down, without the honor of one another to give and return. That's why most of countries have had corruption. Um, when you can see it in the air, there is that's what it is. So if people see that you have stolen all this money, they won't invest in you because it's being created by thievery from have become president. So what is the point? All this money was invested for the people, but you have taken the money that were for the homeless. If you're a governor of California, so on so far, to most of the corrupted politicians around the world. That we will see. It will come to light. You will see all those who don't want to support the tech globe map are corrupted. And some used to be corrupted and say, hey, I'll go for it. That's a good investment. From other workers, capitalism reduces the labor of the worker to a commercial commodity that can be traded in the competitive labor market. I want you to feel your grandfathers if they were slaves. I want you to feel the suffering of your family who was the working class in Europe emigrating to the Americas, South America, North America. I want you to feel the hunger and the misery of your ancestors as well. If you were a Jew, so all that supremacy comes from somewhere deep down. All that delusion of supremacist. Why would the Anglo-Saxon want to change the meaning of the Latin? Where it comes the meaning of the language? Because the white were looked down before, long time ago, with the Roman Empire. The most educated were in the Mediterranean before. All right. So you can see that in the language, that's maybe 30% of their own language. But we have a lot also from the Sanskrit in India and the Chinese. We have more words that mean new forms of translation as well that we might adopt and create through sciences as well. So it is good to celebrate what your race did, which is already a lot. It is good to honor also those around the world who've done their part and also can do for their own, making a beautiful society with happy people. So if the Declaration of Independence has the right of the pursuit of happiness, why do you want to make people miserable with your corruption to self-market yourself? So it is good to talk for the people and think for the people and invest in your people from now on if you like to continue. Wow, that was a long paragraph. The capitalist economy's arrangement of the relations of production provokes social conflict by pitting worker against worker in a competition for high wages. It's horrible, thereby alienating them from their mutual economic interest. The effect is a false consciousness, which is a form of ideological control exercised by the capitalist bourgeois. That's not true. The bourgeois class, los burgueses, would say that the repressed class repress itself. No one is shouting to them. No one is mistreating them. They mistreat their own children, their own. But if you value the opportunities you have, it's really, really that bad. Those wars were terrible, that's for sure. But can you imagine the ideologies of the past? Still today, believing to kill other races or cultures. So they stopped doing that. Well, through its cultural hegemony. Furthermore, in the capitalist mode of production, the philosophic collusion of religion in justifying the relations of production facilitates the realization and then worsens the alienation and then and from the worker from their humanity. It is a socioeconomic role independent of religion being the opiate of the masses. And this is why going to streams to hate something that is so beautiful and spiritual and it conveys to your highest sense, your highest perception and devotion towards God, towards metaphysics as well, and everything that is beyond yourself is condemning your own spirituality. You curse yourself because you're cutting yourself from the divine that runs through you as well and others. This has no garden of its own. Yeah, that's why all these communist systems of belief have adopt uh, adopt some writings, believing they deserve it all, and that this is where evil comes, which is ignorance, which is not knowing what you're doing. In Venezuela, we had many people that were not used to handle power, uh, taking out everyone, um, their jobs when they study and work decades for the petros of Venezuela, for example, in so many places. The very President Maduro would discriminate those who had a last name. And here you call it the los burgueses, the bourgeois class. So how can you administrate like that without having the mirroring to learn from? It is true that people become greedy, and this is why a collateral damage happens towards your own. If you do unjustify means for gain that has been accepted to certain timelines in the past that might continue. We will see that in the map as well. So, well, for the next, we'll go to philosophical significance and influences. Uh, I wish you to know how beautiful it is to surrender, to be floating, trust, to relax, to have a massage, to go on your knees and pray, to have family to go to church with, to sing, all those things that are beyond yourself, to fight with the waves and the waves talk back to you. There's much more there. So you will find in your own freedom and wilderness. I can assure you that's what happens. It's beautiful. Can't wait to see Lex Friedman and what he has there on his adventures. Um, mm, just, just imagine. I was saying today, trying to make this work happen. Say, well, you're very reasonable, and that is good to imagine at least 3%. Okay, thank you for being in here, and if we see each other in roleplay, virtual reality, we might not know who is behind the character. Just relate with the character. You don't need to know who's the person behind. It would break the tissue of the reality that's been built in the fantasy verse. It takes a lot to engage and be total when one re-enters. But my joy would multiply or all others. Not everyone has the capacity to role play with others for others. And you can see that in the low class, middle class, they have not been taught to administrate for others, to have a voice for others, to care for others, and to take the backlash for others as well. Some are in the background and some are in the front, working as a team and innovating for others as well. When they don't know, they will know when they have their tools and their voice and their willingness to do something together anew. They do have also the power. So check that out within yourself. And it's good to honor our ancestors and understand where this superficial superiority comes from, the pain of your ancestors. Or the one that is always escaping as well. Those were the ones that would be creating something new. That's why America is so different from Europe. All right. They have to go away from Europe and create something new. So you will find more innovation there. The European mentality needs a little breakthrough to. Not everyone became an explorer in Europe or an expeditionist. All right. Cheers to that and let it flow. Bye.